Hey everybody, Jameson here with a quick video. I have a client who wants to commission me for something, and we were curious to play with colors and understand how it would fire and how it would look together. So this is a sample piece that I made. Let's see, it's about 10 inches or so long and just 4 inches wide. And I was just playing with a strip of French vanilla, a single layer of French vanilla, added a bunch of frit, and again, we were just kind of playing with some colors. So, one, it was good enough to approve the concept, so now I'm going to make her a big giant panel using this concept. But two, now I've got this, essentially a part sheet that I need to figure out what to do with it, and I've decided to try to cut it up and turn it into jewelry. And so I thought I'd fire a quick video. My intention, so this was full fused, although it's still got a little bit of texture to it. But my intention is to cut this into 1-inch strips. Then I'm going to take 1-inch strips of Tecta and put it over each one of these, and to cap it and take these into a full fuse with a good bubble squeeze and see what it looks like when it comes out. Then I'll probably cut them in half and come up with 2x1 pieces that then I can do some cold working to and turn them into jewelry. So let's see how that goes. Okay, so these have been in the kiln full fused with now Tecta on top, which I think is cool because it adds a lot of kind of depth and dimension to this. That's hard to see on video, but trust me, it's there. So now what I'm going to do is cut each of these in half. And I know that you're probably watching this thinking, well, why didn't you cut them in half before you fused them? And yes, I could have done that. There's a little bit of a method to my madness here. You could absolutely do that. I probably could have done that, but I actually have another plan, so I'll talk about that a little bit later. What I'm gonna do is cut these in half, and then I'm gonna go take them over to my slant lap and grind them down. There's a lot of cold working that needs to be done because I want these to be very, very squared off. So this will take me probably all evening here to tackle this, but I'll speed up the video and show you the process. Okay, I've shown this before and I've talked about this in my studio. I do not have water. I don't have a wet area in my studio. So I have a little cart here, a little rolling Rubbermaid cart. I've got my grinder on one side. This is the High-Tech Diamond Slant Cabber. I bought this and modified it. This is not original, but I've done past videos on this. You can go check those out. And this is the modification that I came up with. And I'm going to use that to cold work these pieces. And so my water source is this pump. So it's got, kind of like your traditional sprayer pump. You pump up the pressure, it runs water into here, which then comes out and drips on this, which is spinning around. The water goes down into this trough, comes out the little hose, and I empty it into an ice cream bucket down there. So it's self-contained. Now it does create a little bit of spray. Got my apron on, so I'm ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and film this for you so you can see it. Again, if you're interested in this setup and want to understand more about it, there's some other videos and I'll link to those so that you can check it out. So let's go ahead and work on these. Okay, this is actually my last one, and I'm just going to show you. So part of the reason for cutting it in half is because now I've got a nice flat area and I don't have to grind one of these sides other than maybe just a little bit. And basically I'm just trying to square these up, particularly down on this end where it got rounded on the corners. I'm trying to square it up to make a rectangle. Now none of these are perfect. I'm not measuring them, and so there's no precision here. It's really just me eyeballing it, but I'm trying to get these into a nice rectangle shape. So I'm going to do this one real time instead of sped up so that you can see what they look like. So this thing is moving at a pretty high speed. I can't remember the grit that I'm using. It's a relatively low grit, so it's pretty rough. Maybe it's a 60 grit pad, I can't remember, but it makes a little bit of noise. This thing works quickly. So when you consider I had a rounded edge and now I've already got that nice straight edge, just trying to apply enough pressure to keep it relatively even. It's really just a feel, an eyeball. Kind of lift it up and I check it. It looks pretty good on the front, but one of the ways it's really easier to tell is on the back. And so that looks like a fairly good rectangle right there on the back. And so it's maybe a little rounded on this edge down here on the corner. I might take a little bit more off. But yeah, pretty pleased with that. So that's how I took that kind of lumpy, uneven piece and got it down into one relatively dimensional rectangle. Okay, so now I've got them all cut up. Now, there is a polishing disc with that, so I could have polished them on the grinder itself, but I'm just going to put them in for a fire polish, so I'll figure out what that schedule looks like after I get these all cleaned up. Okay, it's not perfect, but I've pieced these back together the way they came, and this is the other reason that I wanted to cut them in two pieces, because you've got to think about how you're going to sell these pieces. How are you going to market these? And so I'm going to market these as basically 2 for 1, as like BFF necklaces. So you buy both pendants that actually go together, that were cut from the same piece. So mother-daughter, best friends, but I'm going to sell these for one price, but 2 pendants, and then you buy one for yourself and give the other to your best friend or your sister or your maid of honor or who knows what. So that's why I wanted to cut them that way, so that when they fire and when they get them, they can actually see where, you know, they match up to the extent that I can. Now, recognizing I did have to grind some off to kind of square it up, so it's not a perfect match, but think about the story that you're going to use when you sell these. And then at the end, because of the way I just used a scrap piece of glass, this one is kind of triangular. That's okay. You know, this will be a gift or something. I'll give this to some friends or my wife and my daughter or whatever. So these two aren't a perfect match, and none of these from a shape and size standpoint are perfect, but they did come from the same piece of glass, and I can use that when I market these for sale. So going in for a fire polish. Okay, I fire polished these and I am thrilled with how they turned out. So, you know, nice polish on all 4 sides. I did a firing up to, what was my 1350, I think. I'll confirm that. I always put my schedules in the video notes. If you don't know how to find video notes or show more, whatever it's called on YouTube, then Google it. In fact, go back on my channel. I did a video on how to find video notes. So that's where I put my firing schedules. So anyway, I will put that in there, but I think I went to 1350 for like 10 minutes. But I'm real pleased with how these turned out. Just really pretty. Lots of cool depth to these. And so now it's time to glue on my bales. Okay, so for gluing on my bales, I am going to use E6000. If you follow the boards on Facebook, lots of people will use epoxy, like a 2-part epoxy, or E6000, and some people love E6000, some people hate it. Somebody told me a long time ago, I don't remember where I got this, but that they have the best results when they use E6000 that is a fresh tube. And if you use a fresh tube and fully let it cure for 24 hours like you're supposed to, it works quite well. And that's been my experience. Honestly, I'm kind of a fan of it. Now, fresh tube is hard because those tubes are giant, but they do make, and I've got this in my Amazon store, little tubes. This is a box of 50 tubes. Now, this wasn't cheap, but they are small. Check that out. They're smaller, and so it's easy, by the pure nature of the size of these, to use up a tube if you've got a lot of stuff like this going on. And I always make pieces, you know, just random puddles and whatnot that I can turn into magnets, and then if anybody orders from me, I give them a free magnet. So it's easy to save up some magnets, you know, some blanks for that, some puddles and stuff, do a project like this to knock through a tube of E6000 or 2 tubes or something and not have a lot of waste. And so that's my tip to you. People are going to disagree. Some people hate E6000. I happen to love it. I haven't had any problem with it. I haven't had any complaints. I haven't had any customers come back. And so I'm going to continue to use it. But I like these small tubes. Not necessarily inexpensive, but I also don't want my stuff falling apart on my customers. So I'm pleased with this. That's what I'm going to use to glue my bales on.
Okay, and here we are. I glued some tube bales on. I can't remember where I got these. I've had them forever, so just go to your favorite jewelry findings supplier and look for something like that if this is the look that you like. I'm pleased with these. I took photos of them in pairs, and I've got them listed on my website, and then I did close-ups of each individual pendant as well. I need to work on my photography skills. I wish my photography of jewelry in particular was better. Love these colors, love the reactions I got with the French vanilla. I think this was a fun project. If you agree, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Drop me a comment, let me know what you think.